Coach, today's National Signing Day, and you got 15 new Broncos to talk about. We'll start with an opening statement and then take some questions.
Yeah, signing day is always a great day. We talk about recruiting is the lifeblood of our program. Having great players makes you look like a great coach. So I need great players here. We're welcoming 14 new Broncos to the Bronco Brotherhood, 9 on offense, 5 on defense. We have 13 high school players, 1 portal kid, Christian Lirry, 4 from the state of Michigan, and 8 states are represented. So really excited about this class. Also excited about us going bowling this year, the 12th bowl game in WMU history, 119 years of playing. This will be the 12th bowl game, and we're looking for the 3rd bowl win in WMU history. So a lot of exciting things that are going on, but really excited about this class. We've added to what we're doing here, and when you talk about player acquisition, recruiting is really what we talk about all the time. And our assistant coaches have done a great job identifying the traits that we're looking for, the characteristics that we're looking for, and bringing great men into Kalamazoo.
Coach, looking at this year's class, what are some of the similarities from your first couple of classes that you guys were looking to, maintain of those standards that you guys look for, and maybe something different about this class that maybe might set them apart and help elevate this program further?
Yeah, when I got here, for each position we have traits that we look for. And so we try to recruit to those traits. And the biggest thing is we want great young men on and off the field that represent, WMU in the right way, on and off the field, that want to be champions, not only in the classroom, in the community, and on the field. And so we look for those traits, and I think this class represents that in what we're doing. I don't think this class is any different. Last year we had the second ranked recruiting class in the MAC behind Toledo, and we have done a great job. Our assistant coaches have done a great job identifying the guys that fit what we want to do, not only schematically, but also, as a university, and bringing them into the community and in our locker room. For me as a head coach, it changes when you're a position coach and then a coordinator and then you become a head coach. It changes because you want great young men to represent not only the university, but also, all the traits that we're looking for: effort, attitude, toughness, discipline, and represent those things. Be a great teammate, be selfless in the locker room. And I think we've got 14 young men that represent those things in a great way, will represent our community in a great way, and make us all proud.
When you look at some of the positions, you guys do have a lot of focus on the line, both sides. I believe 7 combined for offensive line, defensive line. Your first year here, you spoke about that a lot as well, of focusing on building from the trenches, and just what that focus was here for this recruiting class as well.
Yeah, you just said it right there. We want to be built in the trenches. I think the game of football is won on the offensive and defensive line. If you're physical on the offensive and defensive line, you can win a lot of games, not only in this league, but no matter what league you play in, no matter who you play. You have to be physical. You have to have great O-linemen, D-linemen, and we've made an emphasis on that. And I just think the way that recruiting is going, everybody wants to go to the portal. We're still going to be a developmental program. We want to have high school kids. We want to have high school programs or high school players that we develop, that we grow, that we identify and help get better in each and every way. But also on each side of the football, when you look at how we're built, from the offensive standpoint, we want to run the football. On the defense standpoint, we want to stop the run. We want to get after the passer. We want to create those havoc plays. And I think this, class represents that. We've got some great O-linemen that we've signed here. Some great D linemen that can get after the passer. Those guys really change the game and really set the tempo and mindset for what we want to do, and that's how we're going to be built. And I think in today's age where everybody wants to go to the portal, get kids who are going to come in and play now, on each side of the offensive and defensive line, you have to get kids that you can develop. They may not play in year one. We've identified some guys that can come in and play year one. They've got traits that play year one. They're really good players. But if they don't, we're going to help them develop, G2 and what we do in the strength staff, what we do in our off-season program to help develop those guys and continue to grow those guys to get them better so that they can play and be great players for us, I think is critical to what we want to do.
A slightly smaller class for you guys numbers-wise this year as opposed to last year. Was it that last year allowed you to fill those holes, some of those holes more that you were looking for, and this year allowed you guys to maybe handpick a little bit more, a little more fine-tuned than seasons past?
Yeah, I think what we did in last year's class, we had the second best recruiting class in the MAC, best recruiting class in WMU history since 2016. We signed a lot of guys that are going to play for us and play really good football. I think what we saw this year, even though a lot of those guys didn't play for us, we had several freshmen play for us this year, but we didn't have a ton of freshmen because of all the guys that we brought back. When you have 17 starters returning, we had guys who played on special teams, played roles, but a lot of those guys are going to be really good players for us. And again, a credit to our staff and our coaching staff in terms of the traits that we're looking for and what we want to identify. We think a lot of those guys from last year are going to be really good players. And then, each year it's going to be different in terms of the number of guys that you want to sign. How many do you lose? How many, are coming back? All those things come into that. And so, we identified from a roster management standpoint how many guys need to help fill this class. And then we still got to go out and sign some portal guys that are going to come in and, fill some gaps for us. But 14 guys, 9 on offense, 5 on defense that are going to come in and help play critical roles for us.
When you look at some of the places that these kids are coming from, a handful from Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, they all kind of grew up surrounded by the MAC. How crucial was that for you guys to know that these kids know what MAC football is about, know what it means to those areas that they're from, and maybe have a familiarity with Western and what it means to be a Bronco here?
Yeah, I think that's ultimately what's critical, identifying the traits that we want to look for, what it takes to be a Bronco and really wanting to be a part of this program. I don't care where you're from, as long as you, identify the traits of effort, attitude, toughness, and discipline and want to be a Bronco, understand what it means to come in this community, how important it is to win here, what the history and tradition is here at Western Michigan. I don't care where you are. Where you're from, but those are the traits that we look for, and then guys that are going to come in and not only be great players for us, be great in the locker room, but be great in the community. Paige Robbins, does a great job with community service hours. Dan Bartholomew, our AD, talks about being a great servant leader in our community and being involved in our community, which is so involved in what we want to do. We have the best home atmosphere in the MAC, but that's because of not only our student section, not only our alumni, but also the community of Kalamazoo, and we want to be plugged into the community of Kalamazoo and what we do, but we still have to go out and represent WMU each and every week.
As with last year's class, a lot of 2, even 3 sport athletes in this one. What is it about that draws you to them to recruit them, bring them to Western Michigan?
Yeah, I think when you play multiple sports, it makes you more versatile, and I've always talked about this, when I coached Christian McCaffrey and then, just being around him, having seen his traits and how he prepares and what he did in high school, then in college, and then in the pro level, I was fortunate enough to, coach him at Stanford, and then also coach him at the Carolina Panthers, his versatility created value for what he did. He was not only a football player, he was a track athlete. When you talk about his background and lineage, his dad played football at Stanford, played in the NFL for, I think, 17 years. His mom was a soccer player at Stanford. His granddad was, his grandfather, was on the Olympic track team. And when you talk about what all he did, he played football, he was on track, he played basketball, he played all the sports, and it made him more well-rounded. And I think versatility in this day and age creates value for what you want to do, makes you more well-rounded. Try to tell my kids that, I got 2 young kids that, they want to play everything. And I think that creates value for what you want to do, and makes you more well-rounded. And when you recruit kids, you don't want them to just be a football player. You want them to be an athlete, no matter what position they are. As we look at O-line and D-line, we want them to be, play basketball, be in track, shot put, all the things that we talk about. For our skill athletes, we want them to play track, 100 meter, be in basketball, be in track, be in all the sports that helps them create that value for themselves. And then when they get here, we talk about that as well, not only playing one position, but being able to play all the positions. So if you're a receiver, you're not an X receiver, you're not a left receiver, you're going to play all the positions, outside, inside, and that creates the value. We talk about that all the time for our guys and our athletes, and those are the traits that we want to recruit to.
Coach, most of these guys will be developmental guys next year, but one guy who's probably going to compete right away for playing time is Christian Lirry, who's transferring from Georgia Tech. Can you talk about him and his game and what he brings?
Yeah, Christian Lirry, he was one of the transfer portal guys that we signed today that I think is phenomenal. I think when you talk about explosiveness, he was a 4-star athlete coming out of high school out of the state of Florida. He signed with the University of Alabama. He was there for 2 years, and then he went to Georgia Tech. He's been a productive player. And when I talk to, the coaches at Alabama and also at Georgia Tech, they raved about him just as a teammate, just as who he is character-wise, his work ethic, what kind of person he is, what he's going to bring to the locker room. And then when you watch his tape, not only is he a versatile, receiver that can play inside, play outside, he's explosive, he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's going to be one of those guys that can turn any play into a touchdown or an explosive play. But he also played special teams. And, when we talk about, being selfless, and it wasn't just as a returner, when you talk about an explosive playmaker, you think, hey, okay, he played kick return or punt return. But what he did, in the coverage units at Alabama and Georgia Tech, and just talking to those coaches, what he meant to their team, I think what he brings in terms of value, not only on the field, but in terms of the locker room, he's done it at a high level. He knows what it takes to win. But just talking to the coaches at Alabama and Georgia Tech, they raved about his leadership, his work ethic, what he does on and off the field. He's selfless as a teammate, will do any job. No job is, too small or too big for him, and that's what you see on tape. I think he can be one of the best players in this league.
And then a lot of focus goes to quarterbacks, and you've got a really young quarterback position group, and you've added to it now with Vance Holtz. Talk about his game and where that whole quarterback room stands moving forward.
Yeah, Vance Holtz is a special player. When we recruited him, he was a little bit under-recruited, and it was really surprising because of his numbers and what he's done as a high school player. I was actually surprised that he wasn't more highly recruited. He became more highly recruited as he, played really well his senior year. He had a terrific senior season, leading his team to some big wins. He's from the state of Wisconsin. He transferred his senior year, and I just think he comes from a great family, great lineage. I think he possesses arm talent, great decision making, but also underrated as an athlete and ball carrier. And so, we want to be multidimensional at that position as we move forward. And what he does, making plays not only with his arm but also with his leg, I think he adds to our room. We're really excited about our quarterback room. Hayden's done a great job this year. What he's brought in terms of leadership, I really think has moved our room and our offense forward. How he has led us, as a teammate, but also as a leader, how he prepares each and every day has helped make everybody around him better. And the other guys in that room who are coming up and are going to be good players, Brock Lowry, who we, signed from Indiana. We've got 2 really young players, Mark Konechny, who's a, player from the state, who's done a really nice job for us. I think all of those players have benefited from learning from what it takes to prepare at the level to succeed and being a great player under Hayden. And I appreciate Hayden's leadership, but really Walt's done a great job in that room. Really excited about that room moving forward. It will be different from Hayden as we move forward. But I mean, as you move forward, you just want a great leader that is going to help make everybody around them better.
Lance, Broncos have always been good in the state of Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio. Kentucky's an interesting state. Obviously, Jacob Gideon from Union, Kentucky, and then Avion Chenault, wide receiver from Lexington, Kentucky. Kind of talk about reaching out to that state and being able to get some of those guys from outside maybe the Midwest area.
Yeah, let me brag on Jacob Gideon for just a second. He's a guy who is Bronco. He bleeds brown and gold through and through. His dad has a WMU tat. He has a Bronco tat. Those guys love WMU and represent this university in a great way. He could have went a lot of different places last year. This is a great player who's been an all-MAC player and been one of the best players in our league at the O-line position for several years. He's played a ton of ball for us. I really appreciate what he's done, his leadership in that room, what he has meant to this room, what he's meant to this team. He could have went a lot of places after last year. He was one of the guys that, really rallied this senior class when we had 17 seniors come back, 17 starters, come back to this class, 26 seniors who just walked on senior day. He really rallied that group of young men and said, hey, we can be really special next year. Let's all come back and, believe in what Coach Taylor's doing, what we're doing here, and believe in those guys. So I appreciate Jake Gideon. He's from the state of Kentucky. I've got a lot of history there, being the offensive coordinator at Louisville. Avion Chenault is one of the best skill players that I've recruited at this level. I think his explosiveness, what he did in the state of Kentucky, he was one of the I think he led their he has the record at their high school for touchdowns, 4 receptions, one of the best players in the state, and we were really excited as we got to know him and his family. He's an even better person, great family. What he brings to this class is exciting, and what we want to do as we move forward, in terms of explosive playmakers. But he does a great job, continuing behind Jake Gideon.
Lance, a couple of the positions, obviously you recruited offensive linemen, defensive linemen, wide receivers, a quarterback, a couple spots, no running backs in this class. Obviously the transfer portal still to come, and then no kickers or punters. Kind of talk about maybe those 2 segments going forward with guys from last year returning that'll be able to be significant contributors next year for Western Michigan.
What 2 segments? I'm sorry.
Kickers and punters, and then the running back position.
Yeah, let's talk about specialists. RJ Todd is a guy that, started here as a walk-on. I think in 2 years that I've been here, he started every game. He's never had a bad snap. You don't know his name because he hadn't had a bad snap. You only know those guys when they mess up. What he's done this year has been excellent. He actually, in the Eastern Michigan game, the first, PAT field goal was high. He comes over to the sideline. I got on to him. He was like, Coach, I got you. won't happen again, and it didn't. And I think what he's done as a starter, the consistency, he's going to be on scholarship as we move forward. Palmer Domsky will be a guy that we're going to bring back. Everybody remembers him from the Wisconsin fake field goal. The athleticism that he had there, and he's done a great job. He was injured after that game, and then Luka really did a great job and really was one of the best kickers in our league, most consistent kickers in our league as we move forward. And he was a transfer from Butler, and really happy to excited to have him, but really excited to get Palmer back and what he does. I think he's got a great leg. In the 2 years that I've been here, I don't know that he's missed more than one kick in spring or training camp. He's just been consistent. The ball pops off his leg. And then Ryan Milmore, when you talk about punter, really did a great job. I mean, he came in after spring ball. He was a transfer from Iowa State. He redshirted there. He's just been really excellent at flipping the field position and being a weapon for us as a punter. So I'm really excited. We're going to get all those guys back. Palmer, RJ, and Ryan Milmore. We'll get all three of those guys back. I think they're weapons for us as we move forward. They're only going to continue to get better. Coach Sabak's done a great job with those guys, not only with special teams, but one of the reasons why I hired Coach Sabak from Arkansas was his work with the specialists and how he does a great job with punters, kickers, holders, snapper, like all of that. It takes a special person to work with specialists, and they're a different breed, but I love them, and they've done a great job for us this year, so really excited about those guys. From a running back standpoint, I think we've got the best running back duo in the country. When you talk about Jaden Nixon and Jalen Buckley, really excited to get those guys back. I think both of those guys have performed extremely well. They are a great complement to each other and have different skill sets, and we can use in different ways, but we'll use in every way. And that's one of the things that I think is special when you look at running backs. I've got a long history with running backs, but when you have a running back that can be a three-down player, and it doesn't matter what you call, doesn't matter what the down and distance is, doesn't matter what the situation is, you can put that guy in the game and you trust him. That's special, and that's hard to do. Both of those guys can do that. Oldie was the MVP from the Eastern Michigan game. What he did, 2 touchdowns, 130-something yards on the ground, 40 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. He was really our offensive MVP. He was one of the 26 seniors that we honored in that game. And I've just been so proud of what he's done, who he is as a leader, as a person, as a teammate, and really appreciate what he does. When you just worry about, what I can do better, how I can be the best version of myself, how I can be a great teammate, how whatever role I've been given, I can own that role. He is a poster child for that, and I think he's a great example to a lot of guys in the locker room. He's never complained. Growing up, he was a Golden Gloves boxer. He's got many skills and talents. Bodner, you asked about guys that play multiple positions or different sports. I think his value is what he brings as a leader and a teammate, and all the versatility that he does. He's been a great third down back, but he really carried the load in the Eastern Michigan game. Really proud of him and what they're doing, and what Coach Darren Page has done in that room since he's been here.